All right. What's going on, people? We're going live post Super Bowl to talk briefly, and by briefly, I mean all of 5 seconds, to talk about that absolutely embarrassing display by the Chiefs. That just makes me so happy on so many different levels. Fuck Mahomes, fuck Travis Kelce. Let's go Birds. The gang from It's Always Sunny is eating very, very well tonight. We're here to talk about the trailers, all of the 3 that we got during the game, and mostly just talk about kind of a look ahead to what we have coming out movie and TV wise in the year of 2025, which, if the world hasn't imploded by the end of that year, should prove to be a very, very good, entertaining year with some interesting developments coming out. I'm joined once again by Luke of Luke Reviews. We have a newcomer to the show, another Neighborhood Playhouse alumni. I think, Helen, I think this makes you like number 8 or 9 now. I've lost track at this point. Helen, just please let me know if I butcher this last name. I apologize in advance. Helen Romeu-Coombes, how are you?
That's pretty good. Yes,
right.
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here and chat about movies.
Yes,
Really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny because when you were hitting me up being like, yeah, I know I was supposed to come on the podcast a year ago, and then everything kind of worked out the way that it did. And then you were like, well, can I come on an episode soon? And I'm like, well, funny that you mentioned it. I happen to have an episode where we're kind of just going to talk about everything. So if you want, that would be perfect for you. And you were like, sign me up. I'm like, all right, awesome, cool.
Yeah.
So it's weird because in the past, the Super Bowl obviously been like, for us movie people, it's kind of like essentially the de facto kickoff of the year. You know, January is usually kind of known as dry January, dead January. You know, there's like a couple movies that come out that are worth watching, but not in recent years. This January is kind of good, but February, the Super Bowl was kind of the kickoff. That's when we get our trailers for whatever the blockbusters are going to be. That's kind of when we start to get a few more release dates. And I gotta say, I was very, very disappointed with their offering as far as movie trailers this year. We only got like one full trailer, a couple of TV spots. Luke, you were mentioning how, man, they really do not want to pay. The studios really do not have the money to pay the $8 million for how long is it for $8 million for the
30 seconds.
For
8
30
million,
seconds
30 seconds.
Yeah, so they clearly are not willing to fork over the cash as much this year. But we got one new trailer for Thunderbolts with some new footage coming out there, and then we got very, very brief, 30-second spots for Mission Impossible and Jurassic World. But the big ones that I wanted to talk about, obviously, we got brand new trailers for Fantastic Four and Jurassic World Rebirth so far. But I wanted to start off the conversation. So, obviously, again, the big question going into 2025 this year was, is Marvel going to make their comeback? They sat out, with the exception of Deadpool and a couple of TV shows, they pretty much sat out 2024. They let Sony just embarrass themselves with whatever the fuck those 3 displays last year, where again, around this time last year, I was letting Mac Dontre and Aniolo absolutely roast the shit out of Madam Web. It was very, very entertaining. But so this year, Marvel has Captain America Brave New World, which has been mired with reshoots for the longest time, Thunderbolts, which looks to be their version of Suicide Squad, and then their 4th attempt at doing Fantastic Four. So like I said, we're going to talk about Fantastic Four in a bit, but real quick, how are we feeling about Marvel's offerings this year? Is this going to be an improvement? Is this going to be the comeback? Or like how are we feeling here? Luke, we'll start with you and then Helen.
I think the thing for me, what I keep having to wrap my head around is that these are the 3 movies until Doomsday. Like, it's just this gap. Like, we had no build up to that movie, really. Like, everything's going to be smushed into Fantastic Four. Who knows? The Thunderbolts are supposed to show up in that too. So I don't know how that's going to happen. But like, I think all 3 of these like have to be good to like bangers. Like, I have most faith in Fantastic Four. Although Thunderbolts, with every trailer, like they keep getting me more and more. Captain America, I'm seeing that Wednesday. I don't have great hopes, but you know,
I'm sorry.
It's Harrison Ford. Anything with Harrison Ford, I'll watch.
It's Harrison Ford, yeah, but I've heard that there's a couple of plot points from that movie that kind of fell through the cracks. And man, that they are not reporting accurately on that budget. That budget with all those reshoots is getting up to $400 million. They need this movie to like be a hit, and I am
and
worried
the clips that they've released have not been encouraging in the slightest.
I'm sorry, everybody's been saying that Red Hulk transformation is like one of the most unintentionally hilarious parts of the movie, and I'm like, oh no. So yeah, needless to say, Helen, are you a Marvel fan in general, or is this just kind of like I feel like it's just like, oh no, not this again?
I'll be honest, I'm not a Marvel girly. So, you know, looking at some of the trailers, I was like, I have no idea what's going on, but I'm here for the ride.
Exactly. Honestly, that's the best mindset to have.
I will say, I mean, Thunderbolts did look cool. Like, I didn't fully get everything that was happening, but I love Florence Pugh. I'm a massive fan of her, and to see her doing like a bigger kind of blockbustery action thing. I mean, she's been in like big movies, but to see her go from like doing We Live in Time last year to doing like this, I'm like, okay, like that's, you know, range. But
Big jump.
I'll probably go see it, like regardless of like not understanding like the Marvel universe too much. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny that kind of how the Thunderbolts work, where again we just came off of an entire decade of DC trying and failing to replicate Marvel's success, and now we're kind of seeing the opposite, where James Gunn, within the short tenure that he's had with DC so far, between his version of the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, and now Creature Commandos, and then he's also got Superman coming out this summer, how he's already managed to flip kind of the public opinion on DC around so fast that now after this the what's called the good reception that his Suicide Squad had, despite the plummeting box office, now Marvel is seemingly attempting to replicate that tone and formula after they already lost him after Guardians 3 2 years ago. Yeah, the Thunderbolts in concept have always been an interesting one in the sense of where it functions the same way that DC did, but the only micro difference is that with Marvel, where again it's essentially reformed criminals being used by on a government black ops special task missions, and the only difference really is that the Thunderbolts are usually posing as heroes. Like the big thing is the first iteration of the Thunderbolts in the comics was led by Baron Zemo, and they were all different supervillains that kind of made slight alterations, supervillains, sorry, that made slight alterations to their costumes and changed their names. So like Atlas became new Goliath, Songbird, Screaming Mimi became Songbird, you know, shit like that. And then later incarnations, they were led by Norman Osborn as well when he was trying to reform from his Green Goblin persona. This time, again, they look to be, again, it's exactly what we expected from Thunderbolts, where again, it's all essentially the side sort of heroes, sort of not, they're not really villains too. That's the thing. They're all kind of like the side heroes that were like introduced in the last couple of COVID efforts from Marvel. So you've got Yelena Belova and Alexei Shostakov, Black Widow's father and sister, played by Florence Pugh and Dave Harbour, who were introduced in the Black Widow. You have John Walker, the U.S. agent, who was introduced in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You have the Ghost, who was the villain from Ant-Man and the Wasp, which it was way back in 2018. You also have another Black Widow villain, Taskmaster, who was kind of like the jack of all trades assassin that the Red Room was sending after Natasha. So you have all of those guys. Then you have newcomer Lewis Pullman, Bill Pullman's son, as Bob, who we finally saw in this trailer as well. He's going to be revealed to be the Sentry, who's another iconic Marvel anti-hero. Bucky's in this as well, the Winter Soldier. But again, it's once again that classic Marvel post-COVID problem of, oh man, it's been like 4 or 5 years since we've seen some of these characters. Like, what the hell have they been up to? You know, because that's the other problem. I think that's the other problem too, as far as where Marvel's had is the MCU leading up to Infinity War and Endgame was so tight, so succinct. Every kind of piece mattered, and now you just kind of like between the fact that they started airing these Disney Plus TV shows that were kind of also necessary, but then not. You had like new characters coming in and out. There wasn't really this as tight sense of continuity. You kind of didn't know what was going on. So now you've got a sequel to a TV show that came out 3-4 years ago, a new rendition of a kind of side B tier team with all characters that have been introduced, but who you don't remember any of because they were all side characters introduced some over 6 years ago. And then that leads us into, but the only fate that I do have in Thunderbolts is the fact that it is directed by Jake Schreier, who's the dude who directed Fault in Our Stars and a lot of the episodes of Beef 2 years ago. So that does give me hope. Also, it has the lowest budget of all these movies. It's only got a $150 million budget. So that's the one that has only, listen, when it comes to Marvel.
As far as Marvel, that's pretty low.
As far as Marvel, that's really low. That's really, really low.
Oh, I can imagine, yeah.
Well, considering that, so like I said, Brave New World with all the reshoots is going to have a budget of close to $400 million. I don't care what they're reporting. And then Fantastic Four has got a budget of about, of course, they haven't reported the budget yet. But if I had to guess, that's probably also going to be in the $200-300 million range because that's like just Marvel standard now. So Thunderbolts is the one. Also, the fact that Thunderbolts is airing in that, what I call that prime Marvel spot, that first weekend of May to kind of kick off the summer, that so many of their biggest and best efforts have aired in, that helps it too. So Thunderbolts is the one that's got the most going for it. Now let's talk about Fantastic Four. So we were eagerly kind of very much anticipated this as far as Marvel being like, okay, this is like are a big effort. We're rebooting this after 2 previous failed efforts in the past. What's it called? We've been hinting at them a lot, first with, when they dropped Reed Richards' name. I don't remember when, like, it was in a Marvel effort, like, a while ago. And then, obviously, when we got a variant of Reed Richards portrayed by John Krasinski in Multiverse of Madness. But Marvel's been hinting heavily ever since their purchase of Fox that we were getting Fantastic Four. There was a lot of rumors circling around casting for years. We even had a director swap. It was supposed to be John Watts, who did the 3 Spider-Man movies. Now it's Matt Shakman, who directed all 9 episodes of WandaVision, as well as many, many episodes of many iconic TV shows, including It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Game of Thrones. And they announced the cast around this time last year that it was going to be Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joe Quinn, and Evan Moss-Backrack. They had announced that this movie was going to be set on a parallel Earth in like kind of a retro 60s verse. This is not on the main MCU Earth. What's it called? So we finally got our first trailer. Didn't give us much, gave us a feel, not necessarily anything plot-wise. We saw a brief outline of Galactus, who is the main villain in this. So what are we thinking here, Helen? Real quick? Like I said, I realized I dumped a lot of stuff on you. Like, what's it called? What is your relationship with Fantastic Four? Like, did you watch the 2000s movies growing up? Like,
no, I mean, I didn't grow up watching Fantastic Four or Marvel in general, or DC. Like, genuinely, superhero movies are kind of this like ethereal thing to me that seems quite distant. But yeah, so I honestly now as an adult just look at it and I go, cool. I feel like I can't tell if it's like for kids or if it's for people who were kids in the 2000s that now like feel nostalgic and like want to like feel like a kid again. Like, I'm not sure what the audience is really. But so I don't know if I'll go see that one, but it looks cool. And because I'm an actor, I love to look at who is being cast in these movies. And I am a massive fan of Pedro Pascal, massive fan of Vanessa Kirby. I've like followed her career for a long time. She also went to my alma mater in the UK, so that's cool. She went to the University of Exeter. Yeah, so that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, it's always interesting seeing like kind of like how like the relationship with Fantastic Four over the years. A lot of people refer to it as this kind of like Marvel's cursed property, where it's like, oh, they never got it right. But I don't know. I kind of look back on those 2000s ones with a lot of fondness and nostalgia. Like, as far as like, yeah, that's kind of like was my template for the team. Like I said, it's one of those things where it's like people. I feel like they haven't really quite figured out how to like crack it in movies, because they're not like the Avengers or the X-Men in the sense of where they're more of like this fantastical like traveling family, like slash explorer. They explore different dimensions and new worlds. They're not really superheroes in the traditional sense. So I think that's why kind of the studios have had like such a hard time cracking them. The 2015 one in general, I just think was an absolute disaster. I still don't know what the hell Josh Trank was trying to do with that one. Everyone's like, oh, he was trying to do a body horror. I'm like, yeah, sure. Okay. I have no clue what that was. He's only made one good movie anyways. Luke, so like I said, our 4th attempt at the Fantastic Four. There's been a lot of buildup, a lot of speculation over this one. We got the trailer this past week. I think my biggest thing that I noticed is that stylistically they are emulating the 90s Roger Corman one, just from the look of it as well, kind of along with the 60s feel. I also think that for me particularly, a really funny point was hearing Richie from the Bears voice come out of the Thing. Like that, there was just something like really weird, because I'm used to hearing like the really low rumble that I'm used to, like say that Michael Chiklis delivered back in the mid 2000s. But so we finally got a trailer. What are our thoughts? I'm still skeptical about the fact that this is only opening up a week after Superman. Like that's danger territory for me. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I will say that when they did reveal that it was Ebon Moss-Backrack as the Thing, I was like, that's the greatest casting I've ever heard. And seeing it with the super comic accurate look as well, that just like that's what I was looking forward to most, just seeing how he sounds plus how he looks, and that delivered. But Fantastic Four, it's too iconic a name to not be at the forefront of Marvel, especially now that they do own it again. People are now saying that this is what they should have gone with right after Endgame, like boom, Fantastic Four, like take a break or something and enter with that. But we're getting it now. The retro look and feel is another thing I really like. It's in a different universe, so they can be more free with it. They will cross over into the main MCU. People think they're going to lose to Galactus, and then that's how that's going to happen. We'll see in July. And yeah, I think it can have. I hope it can have that slight Barbenheimer effect where people see both Superman and this just like a big celebration, and throw Jurassic World in there as well.
Right, exactly. Jurassic World's opening the weekend before both of
yeah,
those.
just big summer season, because there's like 5 movies in June as well. So
there's like I said, we're gonna cover that once we get to what we're looking forward to in the blockbuster template. But yeah, this is a jam-packed summer. Like Hollywood is like, after the last couple of years, like Hollywood is really, really desperate to get people's butts back in theaters, because man, 2024 was not what they were hoping to get, even though they had a couple of safe hits. But yeah, a couple other things just about Fantastic Four before we wrap that up. First of all, do you think they intentionally had the only scene that we saw with the Thing being him cooking, like they definitely did that on purpose, right? As far as like the connections to the bear,
it has to be like a small nod.
It has to be. There's no way. I mean, come on, they're like half the time they're literally doing this stuff just so that they can generate memes. What's it called? Yeah, like I said, I love the look and the feel, because it feels different than any other previous Marvel effort. Couple other obvious like brief theories. So we had no shots of Julia Garner's Silver Surfer, who is confirmed to be in the movie. We had a brief shot of John Malkovich. We still don't know who he's going to be playing. The rumor is that he's going to be playing either Dr. Storm, Susan and Johnny's father, the Puppet Master, Alicia Master's father. We also know that Natasha Lyonne and Paul Walter Hauser will be in the movie as well. Also, so my theory is that, so a couple of other theories as well. The rumor is that this iteration of the Fantastic Four actually did not originate from this Earth. They originated from the main MCU timeline and then ended up disappearing to this Earth sometime in the 60s and kind of had an effect on this Earth, which is why I believe that this also is actually set in modern day, but it still looks like in the 60s. That's why kind of where the parallel Earth thing comes in. Also, my theory is that in banishing Galactus, they'll banish him to the negative zone. And that's how they'll end up crossing back over to the main MCU timeline, which we know will be confirmed by the end. Like I said, this is the last movie that we're going to get major movie that we're going to get before Avengers Doomsday the following year. Also, obviously, no mention of Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom, but we can assume that will be included in there this year. Really, the last thing that I wanted to talk about is I'm going to save F1 for when we cover it in the blockbusters is Jurassic World. Man, talk about a franchise they will not let die, because these stupid movies keep making too much money. I've said it before. I'm going to keep saying it. There's only one good Jurassic Park movie. There's only one good one. Like, Jurassic World was tolerable in the sense of where it was kind of doing that thing that a lot of 2015 movies were. 2015 was the invention of the requel, as Scream later coined, where you had Jurassic World, Creed, and Star Wars The Force Awakens all in the same year, as far as these movies that were low-key remakes, but were adding new characters and were acting more as like commentary on the previous iteration of the movie. So Jurassic World was kind of the first one of those. And it had like something interesting going for it in with the first like 20 to 30 minutes, where it was like, what if we did dinosaurs in the social media age? Like, how would that? I'm like, okay, that's like kind of an interesting thing that you're doing right there. And then it became Chris Pratt, and we're just doing the first movie again, where the security system is down. We have a new mutant dinosaur that we've invented that can camouflage and do all sorts of things. And then they went forward with the 2 sequels, and I'm just like, I don't know what the hell we're doing here. But this is a new take. None of the characters from the last 3 movies are back. There's a new director as well. We have Gareth Edwards directing, coming off a hot streak from Rogue One and The Creator 2 years ago. And so I know that look and visually this will be appealing, I guess. But we have a cast now that consists of Scarlett Johansson, Rupert Friend, Jonathan Bailey, right off of his scorching hot Wicked success, and Mahershala Ali, who desperately needed a paycheck after Blade fell apart over at Marvel.
He's made an entire Jurassic World movie in between. Like,
I'm telling you, it's never happening. That movie is never coming out. It's not happening. Wesley Snipes killed that movie with one line in Deadpool. They are never making that movie. That movie went through 4 different directors, however many different script iterations. They are never making that movie. I mean, so how are we feeling? Because the problem is that, like I said, I want to keep shitting on these movies, and I want them to stop making them, because they just keep getting worse and worse and looking worse and worse, and it evolved into these terrible monster movies that have completely lost track of the message of the first movie. And yet somehow this looks worse than any of them. I don't even know how that's possible. I'm like, I'm at a loss. I really am. This looks like awful, like the most stock dialogue, the most stock characters. Jonathan Bailey looks to be a replica of Justice Smith's character, who was like one of the most laughed at parts of the second movie, Fallen Kingdom, in this most recent trilogy. Like, do we have any faith in this movie at all, other than, oh no, parents are going to take their kids to see it because dinosaurs, yay. Sorry.
I do. As someone with a very big dinosaur phase in my single-digit years, I will see any Jurassic World movie they throw at me. What I see from this movie is kind of what they did with Prey and Alien Romulus. They're not trying to build like a big saga. They're just doing a movie in the world on like a smaller idea. And this is more going back to the first. Like, they're on an island, they have to go get a thing, and there's dinosaurs. It's more of a Jurassic Park type experience. Hopefully they delve into the horror a little bit. They seem to be with the xenomorph inspired mutant dinosaur.
I don't even know what the hell that's supposed to be. I'm like, it was bad enough when you were combining other dinosaur species, but at the very least, that sort of made sense. Now I don't know what the hell this is. I'm like, is this supposed to be, it's like a combination of the xenomorph and the fucking Rancor from Star Wars. Like, I have no idea what the hell is going on here. And also,
it is Gareth Edwards. That's probably my biggest faith in this.
Looks-wise, it will be good, but my only worry there is that, like, Gareth Edwards, man, it is really dependent on the scripts that you give him. Like, his movies always look incredible visually. Like, you can't say anything about the first Godzilla or Rogue One or what's it called? Or The Creator, obviously. Like, visually, all those movies are amazing. But let us not forget, as much as we love Rogue One, as much as that is the best of the Disney Star Wars movies, he was also low-key fired from that movie. They just didn't report on it, and replaced by Tony Gilroy, who came in and oversaw reshoots for that entire third act. So that's kind of where, again, like, I'm skeptical as far as, like, Gareth Edwards. You hire him for the look of the movie. You don't hire him for the script. And script-wise, this looks like an absolute dud. It's giving me bad Jurassic Park 3 vibes as well, which is, again, like, as far as a third movie, it's such a strange choice where you're only going to bring back one of the original characters. You're going back to the secondary island that you introduced in the first one, but it's like almost like an Elseworlds adventure that has nothing to do with it. I don't know. Like, Helen, like, do you have any anticipation for this? I feel so sorry. I'm sorry. Like, I promise that we are going to get to talk about, like, some actual movies before but I'm like, we got to get the blockbuster slap out of the way first.
No, I will say, when it comes, so not Marvel girly, however, was definitely Jurassic Park girly. Loved Jurassic Park as a kid. And so seeing this, I'm like, look, I know that this is probably going to be bad, but I'm still going to go see it. And I'm still going to munch on my popcorn and have a great time because I had that phase growing up. And it just brings out my inner child. It just, and however, look, the way I feel about all these Jurassic, like, Park, World, whatever remakes, I feel the same way about, like, Mission Impossible. I'm sorry. Like, they keep bringing out these movies that, like, the final reckoning, and it's like, okay, it's the final reckoning, and then they're gonna bring out another one and be like, Mission Impossible Reborn, and I'm like, so this is just never ending. This is just like they're just reincarnating the same shit, like, until Tom Cruise, like, dies. Which...
Fast and Furious, you know, has said one last ride for their last 5 movies. So
exactly, like, I'm like, Jesus, like, just can we stop now? So, like, yeah, I feel like Mission Impossible, Jurassic World, same shit. They just need to stop.
Do not slander the good name of Mission Impossible in my presence.
I'm so happy that you brought that up with this guy who's like the biggest Mission Impossible fan there is. Oh, that was.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I love
it's
it.
Okay.
Oh, I love it. That's perfect. No, but so I see where you're coming from as far as, like, okay, this could be a so bad it's good entry, and I'm kind of hoping that that's the case. But my problem is I've already gotten that with Jurassic Park 3 times. I got it with The Lost World, the first sequel back in 97. I got it with Jurassic Park 3. Jurassic World was just entertaining enough. I'm like, okay, like, this has, like, enough, like the 3-way dino fight at the end was fun. And then Fallen Kingdom was one of the worst things I've ever seen. And to the point where I'm like, wait, I don't know what's going on. Like the first half of this is like a disaster movie where they're trying to save the dinosaurs and make you feel sorry for it. And then the second half is like this low budget horror movie with, like, a giant raptor chase. I'm like, well, I don't know what the fuck is going on. And then the end, like, the trailers promised us dinosaurs escaping out into the real world, and that was going to be the premise of the movie. But it turned out that was just the ending of the second movie, and that led to the third movie. And then the third movie, I don't remember anything that happens in that movie other than, oh, they brought back the original 3 finally for the third one. But by that point, it's too little, too late. So, like, talking about one of the most disjointed, confusing trilogies of all time, to the point where we get to this one, Luke, to your point, you were like, okay, this is just another movie, like you said, after Prey and Alien Romulus, where they're not trying to maintain any sort of continuity. They're just placing this almost like an Elseworlds story within this universe. And I'm like, okay, but I guess the difference is that with this franchise versus those other two movies, is that those two movies are like kind of outer space involving, so you can kind of get away with that. You know, like you can just drop a Predator anywhere on the planet in any time period and it could work. You know, you could have an Alien movie set like kind of randomly with different characters in any part of the galaxy in outer space. You can kind of always make a comeback. These movies, like, I feel like the problem with these movies is we've gotten everything that we can from them. So now we're literally just repeating, like, okay, we're going to go on a quest to another dinosaur island. What could possibly go wrong? Oh no, things are going wrong. Like,
But Tom, we haven't gotten everything possible. We haven't gotten the next $1 billion from the viewing audience that these movies.
We also haven't
exist,
gotten. Now we're also mixing dinosaurs with aliens. Like I said, it's just, I don't know. I'm weird because, like I said, I have certain franchises where the threshold for stupidity can go literally to infinity and beyond. Like I said, I will keep watching the Fast and Furious with Mission Impossible movies until the day I die. But there's some where I get to the point where I'm like, I don't need to see this. I don't need to see this anymore.
We'll see in July.
We'll see in July. It's going to be an interesting July back and forth. Because they already coined this one, right? Because after the Glicken failure this past year in an attempt to replicate Barbenheimer, because like I said, it's Jurassic World, Superman, and Fantastic Four all in a row. I forgot what the name for it was, but it was something. It was something. All right, so let's get into it. Let's run through. So like I said, I have 3 lists here. 4 technically if you count TV. But like I said, TV is just briefly because like I said, it's just mostly waiting for the release date. So I have a blockbusters list, I have an indie list, and I have a wilds card list. So I'm going to run through the lists, and then we're going to kind of gauge everyone's temperatures on how we're feeling for these movies as well as their release dates. So first up, you've got 2 back-to-back movies that have switched release dates already, one of which has been delayed since it was supposed to come out in it was supposed to come out in March of this past year, 2024, and then was delayed to January 2025, and then was delayed to April, and now was switched back to March. 2 different movies from 2 very acclaimed directors, both of whom are surrounding the main character playing twins, and I'm like, that's a weird coincidence how that ended up kind of adding up. Bong Joon-ho's first effort since Parasite, which won him his Best Picture and Best Director. Mickey 17, starring Robert Pattinson, and then Ryan Coogler's first effort since Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Sinners, starring Michael B. Jordan. Mickey 17 follows Robert Pattinson as a character in a future who signs up to be a disposable, in which he is cloned umpteenth amount of times to be used for a certain amount of experiments. And so comedic shenanigans ensue until he inevitably stumbles upon kind of the moral ineptitude of the experiment. And Sinners follows Ryan Coogler's 2 characters in, I believe it is Antebellum South, as he returns to his hometown right when the town is set upon by vampires. The supporting cast also includes, so the supporting cast is for each. Mickey 17 includes the supporting cast of Naomi Ackie, Stephen Yeun, Toni Collette, and Mark Ruffalo. And then Sinners features a supporting cast of Haley Steinfeld, Omar Benson Miller, Lee Jun Lee, Jamie Lawson, Wunmi Musako, and Delroy Lindo, and Jack O'Connell. And all that I can say is that Haley Steinfeld as a vampire, give that to me all day and all night long is all that I'm going to say. Like I said, these movies were originally supposed to be, Sinners was supposed to be in March, Mickey 17 was supposed to be in April, and then they just recently switched release dates. So now you have Mickey 17 is opening in the middle of March, and Sinners is opening April 18th. So how are we feeling about these? Helen, we'll start with you.
I am so excited for both of these movies. When I saw these trailers, I was like, hell yeah, let's go. I am into Sinners, the vibe of like magical realism almost. Like, love that. Magical realism, history, horror, like vampires. I'm like, yeah. Don't know what's going on with the twins yet. Clearly that's a theme for these 2 movies, and I don't know what that means for Sinners, but the only thing that I have a bone to pick with certain trailers is, why are they showing me the entire plot in the trailer?
Oh, Helen.
Why did they spoil the thing about...
I didn't watch that one.
Oh, Helen. Now you are understanding. Now you are understanding the pain that us movie fans have been having to deal with since 2016. Luke, you know which one I'm going to go with here. It all started with Batman versus Superman. It all started with that one. When that fucking movie gave us the entire goddamn trailer in that whole 2 minutes, and every studio since has felt the need to do it, and now it's infected our mid-budget movies too, the few that we can get from the acclaimed directors.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's enough.
I just was like, why? Like, why? Now I know that Hailey Steinfeld it turns into a vampire. I'm like, great. So,
or was she a vampire the whole time?
Very true. Could be the case. Who knows? We're here for the vampires, I guess. Also, I loved Judas and the Black Messiah. That was like it's one of my favorite movies, and so I'm a big fan of Ryan Coogler in general.
Oh wait. You think he directed that?
He didn't direct it?
Nope.
Oh
nope.
my god!
No, he produced it though. He produced it.
No,
that is Shaka King that directed that.
Okay.
Yes. Another no, don't worry. Don't worry. This has happened before. It's another classic case if you see his name all over the trailers and you believe that he directed it. No, his last effort that he directed was Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which was a year and a half after.
Sorry about that. Well, he was a great producer on Judas. That's
yep. No, but anyway. in fairness, like I said, Coogler is definitely taking a page out of Nolan's book. He is being like, okay, I'm gonna be the next I'm going to do all of my ideas are going to be original, but they are all going to be like the biggest movie possible. Like, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that Hoyt van Hoytema, who is Nolan's go-to cinematographer, I am totally wrong. He is not doing this. The cinematographer is Autumn Durald Arkapaw is the cinematographer. I'm totally wrong, but he did consult Nolan as far as this is shot in IMAX, so this movie is going to feel big. And like you were saying, Helen, I love the feel for this. Like it feels slick, it feels mysterious, it feels sexy. I'm like, ooh, plus anything that has vampires in it in the 2020s gets me going, because like vampires have been overdue for a comeback since Twilight ruined them for an entire decade and a half, and they're finally making their comeback. Yeah, I'm excited for this one. And then Luke, you've been talking up Mickey 17 for a minute now.
Having read the book, this will be the greatest 4-star movie ever.
Yes,
like, I don't think it's gonna be like
it's not gonna be quite
spectacular.
Like it's not gonna be a 5-star, 3-star movie like Twisters was.
No. It's just gonna be a really great movie. It's gonna be really funny. Robert Pattinson, and they upped it from 7 to 17 because Bong Joon-ho wanted to kill him another 10 times, just because for the comedy aspect. And there's one scene where it involves some sexual encounters between multiple Robert Pattinson.
Oh, let's go! I'm
wondering to see how they do that. It's briefly in the first trailer. So.
Oh man, I am there for that. I'm so there for that. Oh man.
And Sinners, I said this in my video, and you said it. The scary vampire is back.
Yes.
Midnight Mass, Nosferatu, Abigail.
Yes. Yeah, Abigail, absolutely. Yeah, which makes it a little bit
Abigail.
For me, see, I go all the way back to 19. That's what started off. Nobody saw that movie because it aired on Netflix in 2021, but that movie was fucking awesome. I give that movie credit for bringing vampires back. Like I said, we had a couple of good ones that snuck in there over the last couple of years. 30 Days of Night, the Fright Night remake, the remake of the original and the remake of Let the Right One. And sorry if that, like I said, I know that goes back to your first year as well, Helen. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to rub salt in that wound there. Sorry about that. So Helen, real quick, what are your thoughts on Mickey 17? I know you mentioned being a big Bong Joon-ho fan. Post the Parasite win?
Yes. Well, first of all, I am so gassed to see Parasite in IMAX this week. I'm going tomorrow. Yeah. Yes, I'm so excited. I know he's done some English language stuff before, but it's just cool to see that happening again. Yes. And big fan of him, big fan of his sense of comedy. It's very dark and like surreal and quirky, and I love it. I'm also loving, like, every time I see Robert Pattinson in anything, I'm like, I love it. Like, I don't know, like, I didn't know I was a Robert Pattinson fan, but as soon as I saw him on the screen, I was like, I'm so here for this. Like, also, he's like aging backwards. He looks so young. Like, he's
gonna be 40 in 3 years.
Yeah, I know. Like, he looks like this. He looks younger than he did in Harry Potter. Like, I don't know.
Got on that adrenochrome. He's become big enough in Hollywood now. He's on the adrenochrome now. He's got everything going. Their de-aging processes that they have. Yeah, no, but like, seriously, I'm with you. It's almost like Robert Pattinson. It's like, of all the people who needed to be proven to that Pattinson was like a real legit actor. I feel like Pattinson was like doing that the most for himself. It's like, okay, I need to prove to myself that I can still do this after Twilight. And man, does he come out swinging over the last couple of years. I mean, come on. Good Time, The Lighthouse, Tenet, Devil All the Time, Boy and the Heron, the Batman. He has been just crushing it at life.
He's going to be in the Odyssey.
In the Odyssey, which I can't wait to see who he's going to be playing there. Don't worry, we're going to talk about that at the end. Because I have so many theories about what Christopher Nolan is going to do with the Odyssey. But yeah, so you kind of got those two that are kind of kicking off summer blockbuster season. Like I said, we already talked about a lot of the superhero effort, so I'm going to save that. But let's bring it to Helen. You were so gracious to bring it up. Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, which, oh man, like it is one of those things where you are either like a lifelong fan, like, yes, I've been following these movies for years. Those movies are literally 1 year older than I am. These movies are literally hitting their 30-year anniversary next year. But so the thing about this one is this was originally supposed to be a part 2 of part 1, when 2 years ago Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning was Dead Reckoning part 1, and then ended on a cliffhanger. Yeah, another cinematic staple that I love so much. So much. Thank you, Harry Potter, for that. But they retitled it. They got rid of the part 2s for 2 movies that are coming out this year. So this is now The Final Reckoning, and then Wicked part 2 is now Wicked for Good. So they're finally dispensing with that. I'm just hoping that they get rid of that. I don't know what they're going to rename Fast X, though, because that's still Fast X Part 2, to my knowledge. But
Fast XX.
That would be incredible. Oh, if they did that. No.
And then Triple X, where Vin Diesel plays his character.
Triple X. Exactly. You beat me to the punch 1 minute. So obviously, like I said, so this is actually quite interesting. So Luke, you are obviously a lifelong fan of the Mission Impossible movies. Helen, as you've said, you were just like, why do they keep making these movies? And the answer is that because Tom Cruise literally wants to die doing one of these stunts. That is the answer.
Every time it gets crazy, like this, he's always hanging off a plane. And like,
next time, a cliff.
He's played the Burj Khalifa, a cliff. Yeah. What was it in Dead Reckoning, Luke? A train. He's always hanging off something.
Yeah. I will say, not a massive fan of Mission Impossible. However, I do love watching Tom Cruise hang off things. Like, that is entertaining and incredible. Like, I'm like, how is this man doing these stunts? Like, that is very impressive. I will give it that. So in that sense, it's like, cool. That's great. I love that. It's kind of how I felt about when I watched Top Gun Maverick. Like, I mean, it was a great movie, but I loved, like, the thing that I loved the most about the movie was just the fact that they were actually flying the planes.
Right. Experience-based entertainment is what it is, where you could feel the practicality. And I feel like that's kind of become the narrative around it, and kind of what the real reason as to why Tom Cruise is still like kind of propelled as being like, the king of Hollywood, because he does earn respect for still going out of his way to do things as practically as possible, and obviously now they're doing the latest stunt hype up for leading up to this one, where he's like, yeah, I literally like passed out a couple times because, I would stick my head out of planes and I was flying it like that amount. And it's like, you are literally trying to kill yourself. Like, this man is 62 years old, 63 actually now, I believe. We're going to be 63 this year. And I'm like, yeah, I'm up and down with the Mission Impossible movies. I like some more than I like the first one. I like the third one with J.J. Abrams did. I really like the sixth one, Fallout, with Henry Cavill, because that one just felt huge. Like, that one just felt the biggest, where it's like, wow, we have really evolved up to this point. Like, the action, really, I would say, of all of them, made me feel like really lived in there. Now, I'm kind of at the point where, Luke, you were a big fan of Mission Impossible, the last one. I thought, I'm like, all right, we're fighting AI now. Like, I'm sorry, that has no place in these movies. It really doesn't. Where AI is like whispering to Tom Cruise. I'm like, I'm sorry, you can't punch AI in the face. Like, that's not how that works.
He'll find a way.
I know he will.
He'll punch out the screen with the eye.
And now in this one, he's like swimming down to where the submarine from the last one sunk and he's probably trying to do that practically. And he says it's the final reckoning. I don't know. Everyone is convinced that this is not going to be the last one.
It's not.
I know. I still think it might be. I'd like to think it would be. It would be a nice, like, kind of denouement. But knowing them, they're probably going to do the thing of where it's like, oh, he fakes his death at the end of this one, but he turns out he's still alive to live another day. Helen, it's actually really funny because I was actually, Karn and me, one night we were hanging out. We were watching clips from the second Mission Impossible movie, which I don't know if you remember the beginning of that movie, but that movie literally starts with him just climbing up a cliff. And it's like 10 minutes of him just climbing up a cliff. And then he receives the glasses from the IMF, just receives a set of sunglasses. And then it's like this whole like shitty early 2000s CG intro. And then the cut to credits is like this awful ripoff of Bond where he throws the glasses at the screen. The glass disintegrated to fire, and then it cuts to the opening credits. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen. And I'm like, yeah, I feel like that's the template for these movies going forward. And also, just, you want to talk about practical. I'm like, wow, Tom Cruise dragged this crew out here and made them film him climbing up a cliff for God only knows how long. And if that scene was 10 minutes, you know that in real time, it took them like a week to shoot just him climbing up this like impossible to climb rock structure. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, this is the level that we're at. Luke, there's no way this is going to be the last. This is going to be the last Mission Impossible movie, right?
See, you guys aren't sure either. I'm not sure either. I think maybe he has other things he wants to do, like he's mentioned, like other project with McQuarrie. There's been that long discussed movie in space.
Well, because we know that his next movie after this one is going to be the Inarritu movie that's coming out next year. So that's gonna. So that's it. So for me, that's more interesting than this one because that one I'm like, oh, he's actually like doing something that he hasn't done. Exactly, he's acting, but like for the first time in 25 years. Because like the big thing for me that I always go back to with Cruise is that he does Eyes Wide Shut and Magnolia in 1999 with Kubrick and Paul Thomas Anderson, two very prolific, very acclaimed directors who really challenged him as an actor. And his experience on both those movies, he spends the next 20 years doing blockbusters, like with the exception of movies like Vanilla Sky, Tropic Thunder, Lions for Lambs, and Valkyrie. He's pretty much only exclusively done action-based movies for the last 25 years now. So seeing him team up with a director as prolific and acclaimed as Inarritu, back-to-back Best Director winner as well, with a cast that is not at all like his typical cast members. You've got people like Riz Ahmed and John Goodman and Michael Stolberg and actually like really, really good actors for this next movie. And I'm like, what is this movie going to be about? And what is that one? So that to me has like some way more, it has way more interest for me than this one. But like I said, that one doesn't come out until next year.
Either they'll make it like a big No Time to Die type thing, or it'll be open-ended. Like, is he not? And maybe in the future we can do like a I don't want to say Dial of Destiny type movie where he's like super old.
Please God, no.
It's really bad.
Please God, no. Not after that. No. That was such a piece of shit, that movie. I'm like, literally, I came out of that movie feeling depressed. I'm like, I should never come out of a movie feeling depressed, especially after watching Indiana Jones. I'm supposed to be having fun with these movies. Why do I just feel miserable after watching it? Like I said, a couple other ones that I want to hit just briefly before we get on to the indies, which are going to be more interesting. Like I said, so Avatar, Fire, and Ash. How are we feeling? Yay or nay on that one?
Nay.
No, big yay. Big
yeah,
yay.
I like the last one. I like the last one. I had fun with it. Like I said,
if he makes the same movie 5 times with different elements of Avatar: The Last Airbender, like sure, go ahead.
Cameron he's experience based. He knows like I know you're not here for the plot. You're here for the vibes and the look and the feel. And I gotta say, I'm like, it was nice being back in Pandora after such a long wait. Now I don't know if it'll have the same effect having to only wait 3 years as opposed to 14 years like the first time around. But like I said, he's introducing we got the Water Tribe in the last movie. We're getting the Wind and Fire Tribe in this movie. He does say that we are going to see Earth at some point with Avatar 4 and 5 as these movies keep getting more and more expensive, but if they keep making money, who cares? Wicked for good. After Wicked Part 1 turned out to be the surprise kind of blockbuster smash of this past year. It was a big surprise for me. I will say I was a fan of it. The second half to me is a little bit significantly weaker than the first half of the play, but still I'm very, very excited to see kind of how John M. Chu wraps that up. Like I said, the first one was a massive, massive surprise for me. So how are we feeling about Wicked? No longer Part 2 for good.
Yeah, I mean, I was a huge fan of Wicked growing up. Like, I saw Wicked on the West End in London. It was like when I was 12, it was one of like the best days of my life. So I was very happy watching that movie, and I'm glad that other people appreciated it too, even people who are not necessarily musical theater fans. So yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know that they were gonna split it into 2 movies. I feel like you didn't need to do that, but I feel like they could have absolutely made it into 1 movie, but of course this is like money making machine. But I'm not mad about it. I'm like, sure. Also, I think it is nice that it's like Wicked for good. Like that makes sense because of the song For Good. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be good. I'm not anticipating that this is going to be a bad movie. Yeah.
My hope is that they do the same thing kind of with this, like what they did with Doom Part 2, where they kind of take some of like the more, not problematic, but some of the weaker elements from the stage play and kind of like retrofit it a little bit, And also I am very very, very excited to see what's it called? To see Bach turned into the Tin Man and Fierro turned into the Scarecrow. I don't know, just from like a visual sense, that's like really really entertaining. And Helen, I got you beat by a couple years. I saw the original run with Kristen and Adina when I was 5. So yeah, there's a reason. Yep.
Oh
It's a little bit of a humble brag for me that I consistently bring up whenever I run into musical fans, because traditionally I'm not a musical fan, but I'm like, no, for Wicked, I make the exceptions. That one hits home. That one hits home. Yeah. Yeah. I always go back to that one. Luke, now we got easily, I think the only movie that you're looking forward to this year more than Mission Impossible. We got a new trailer for it this week. F1, the Apple TV Plus produced Formula One movie starring Brad Pitt, from the director of Top Gun Maverick, Joe Kosinski. I mean, Luke, this may as well have your name written all over it. We got a new full trailer for this week.
Looking back at it, it's like 3rd or 4th in my most anticipated, behind Mission, Superman, and maybe Fantastic Four, maybe in there. This one I'm worried because, like, as a big F1 fan, I'm worried that the whole movie I'm gonna be going, actually, it's not like that.
You're gonna be like, actually.
Yeah,
the cars are supposed to be in this gear, not this gear.
I'm worried it's gonna be like that, and it's gonna be quite dramatized, as in what actually happens in F1. But I'm hoping that it doesn't overshadow the as we expect the super Top Gun-esque racing sequences, which that we do get a bit of in the trailer. Apparently, there's going to be a love story between Brad Pitt and Kerry Condon, as seen in the TV spots.
Oh, great! Another 20-year age difference between
it's something to get the moms in, you know. So like, throw a love story in there.
Of course.
Hey, not just the mums. Like, Brad Pitt's hot. Like,
and also one of the few guys that's actually a legit actor too. Like, I don't know about you guys, Brad Pitt's been having one of the greatest late career renaissances of any actor that I've seen. Once upon a time in Hollywood, Ad Astra, Babylon, Bullet Train, he's been killing it in life recently. So
but I just need that movie to be like a full-on thrill ride. I've seen clips of them shooting the movie at the races. Like, I know which races he's gonna win just based on that. So
nice.
I hope it's great. I think it could make a lot of money with the popularity.
Man, I hope so, because Apple needs this to be a hit, because, man, their last couple efforts, like I said, Killers of the Flower Moon got a lot of Oscar nominations. It got 0 wins in Napoleon and Argyle. Yikes. Not great. So, yeah, Apple really needs this one to be a hit.
But I know they're not trying to please the F1 audience. They're trying to please the general audience.
Yes,
so.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes. Helen, are you an F1 girlie as well? Or?
Hey, I grew up with F1. I'm European, so
yeah, true. Who am I kidding?
I grew up with F1 in
Who
my
am I kidding?
So yes, I'm excited for it. Like, loved F1 Drive to Survive. I've seen a lot of F1 races. I love Javier Bardem as being half Spanish. He's just the best. He's great. And yeah, fan of Brad Pitt. I watched the trailer. I was like, cool. Fast cars, Brad Pitt, Javier Bardem. I'm not mad about it. I'm excited.
Exactly. No, I saw that cast and I'm like, I didn't like Top Gun Maverick, but I always give a shout out to Joe Kosinski, because even though I didn't like Top Gun, he directed one of the most underrated best movies of the 2010s, Tron Legacy, which features that unbelievable Daft Punk score, and just the look and visuals of that movie. I'm in for anything that he does, you know. Also, the fact that his next couple of movies that he did after that were Oblivion and Only the Brave. I'm like, okay, so he's got a little bit of an eclectic taste. The only kind of miss was that weird Spiderhead movie that he did with Chris Hemsworth on Miles Teller on Netflix. That
and
came out
the story for Twisters.
Yeah, that as well. What's it called? But as we said, Luke, I don't like that movie as much as you do.
Well,
only a couple more blockbusters before we get into the indies. 28 years later, how are we feeling about this one? Because I gotta say, probably the best trailer for anything that I've seen recently.
Yes.
Another legacy sequel, but Danny Boyle and Al Scarlett are coming back for this one after their collaboration with the first one. We got a cast that includes Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Jodie Comer, and Ray Fiennes. I gotta say, that trailer, fucking, yeah, I'm in for this one. I'm really, really in. This looks bigger. This looks scarier. It looks to me like a mix, but like a zombie movie, but set in like the Quiet Place-esque verse. Like, how are we feeling about this one?
I mean, I love 28 Days Later. Like, so watching it was genuinely like so nostalgic for me. I'm so excited. Yeah, and it definitely looks way scarier, and I'm so thrilled for it. And there was something else I was going to say. Well, yeah. So yes, it looks bigger, it looks scary, whatever. But massive fan of Danny Boyle, and I think that he's still somehow kept the sort of home video, like handheld camera-esque like vibe from the original movie. Like it's still there.
It's shot with an iPhone, with like a bunch of crap put onto it to make it look like a film camera, but it is an iPhone. Yeah,
that was an iPhone. That
taking a page out of the Steven Soderbergh book of filmmaking.
I love that. I definitely got that vibe, and I think, yeah, I'm just excited. It's probably actually the movie I'm most excited for.
Yeah, it's that one where I'm like, oh, this is going to be like the sneaky hit. This is going to be the one that, again, they kind of put it out there. It's one of the few movies where, like, no, we can just rely on our quality because word of mouth is going to send this movie. Like, I have a feeling this is going to be like the sneaky surprise hit of the summer. I really could see that happening.
Yeah, and like just the cult following from like the original movie.
Right.
Like, it's going to be great.
Yeah. Also, the fact that, again, low-key could de facto be another great trilogy that we have because, again, it's only the first 28 days and years. So potentially, finally, we could have like a zombie, because we've had great solo zombie movies, but we haven't really had like a zombie franchise. I don't count The Walking Dead because that's TV. We haven't really had like a zombie movie franchise to rival Romero's iconic zombie series forever. So that would be kind of cool. And supposedly they've already shot the second movie, which is going to be directed by Nia DaCosta, who directed Candyman and unfortunately The Marvels. And apparently they're already working on a third movie too. So that's already kind of cool. The fact that they're already like trying to explore different aspects of this world. So that one's got to be really, really excited. A couple more that I want to hit. Tron Ares, Luke, how are we feeling about this? I mentioned Tron Legacy before. That's one of my favorite, like, kind of underrated movies of the 2010s. We got one of the co-directors of Pirates of the Caribbean 5, and it stars Jared Leto, Jodie Turner-Smith, Cameron Monaghan, and Evan Peters. Man, they are putting a lot of stock in that Tron brand because, good Lord, that cast does not get me excited one bit. Not one bit. That's just like, wow. How many people can we put in here that just absolutely repulse me? Because, I'm sorry, Cameron Monaghan ruined all of his goodwill from Shameless with that whatever the fuck performance as Joker on Gotham. Evan Peters is really the only one, but Evan Peters and blockbuster movies have not exactly worked out in the past, with the exception being X-Men. And Jared Leto, just why? Why are we still continuing to put him in anything? So, man, they really, like I said, it is a good thing that they earn my trust and respect with how much I fucking love Tron Legacy, because, man, this has me worried. And it's opening in October, too. Yeah, I don't know. How are you feeling about this one?
So with both the 28 and Tron franchise, we'll be watching those for the first time this year.
Oh,
I feel
really?
like Tron should be a thing I've seen by now.
Tron Legacy, yeah, definitely
feels like a me thing, but
that is 100. How have you not seen that movie yet?
I remember seeing like the marketing when I was 11, but I never caught on to it. But I will be watching it this year. So
yes, you got to text me when you watch it. I'm telling you, that Daft Punk score. Oh,
I'll watch it in October when it's closer to release, but. You know, it's cool bikes with lights, like that's enough to get me in. So
yeah, all I know is every time I think of that movie, I think of Jeff Bridges saying "The Grid," you know, and then like his monologue at the beginning of that movie. It's awesome. It's incredible. Hal, do you have any relationship to the Tron movies? Does this movie mean anything to you at all?
Absolutely not. Just when you said Daft Punk, I was like, I'm here for it.
Yes. The score legitimately is incredible. Essentially, what you have is it's another classic Matrix sort of thing where it's like this video game creator, the original, I should say, kind of gets sucked into this literal virtual reality space that they've created. But Legacy, which to me was like the big like kind of comeback, was basically where like his son, in an attempt to search for his dad who had gone missing, finds himself in the same virtual reality space that his dad created and is basically considered a god in. So it's this interesting thing of where you have Jeff Bridges is basically a god in this space, but then you meet him and you're like, oh, it's just the dude, you know, but like as a god essentially. And that's kind of like the effect for it. The only trade-off is that in Legacy, we also get one of the earliest instances of CGI de-aging, where the bad guy in that movie is a digital replica of Jeff Bridges that is de-aged called Clue. So, but it's 2010, so it still looks a little wonky, but the look and style of the movie, like I said, it's different from anything else. I still think that it's Joseph Kosinski's best movie. Last two blockbusters before we move on to the before we move on to the indies, or should I say the real ones that we're looking forward to. Zootopia 2, which I should say should be Tutopia, and then probably the most interesting kind of out of nowhere one. Edgar Wright's remake of The Running Man, starring Glenn Powell. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that one. I've never seen the original Running Man. Hollywood is continuing to try and make Glenn Powell a thing. I still don't know if he's worked out for me. He came the closest with Hitman until that movie shat the bed with the third act. Yeah, how are we feeling about this one? I don't know. Like, especially Edgar Wright, who, again, started his career as like this really distinct, really kind of like off the beaten path indie filmmaker with the iconic Cornetto trilogy and Scott Pilgrim versus the World. And now I feel like he's been trying to like get back into the main space. His efforts after The World's End were received pretty well with Baby Driver, and then Last Night in Soho unfortunately kind of got overlooked because of COVID. I enjoyed it, but how are we feeling about this? I'm still kind of like 50-50 on this one.
Well, I'm gonna be reading The Running Man by Richard Bachman, aka Stephen King.
Yeah,
so
Stephen King.
I'll see what that's like. But I think Edgar Wright needs like a banger. Like I didn't love Last Night in Soho. Like it's weird. He was only made that and Baby Driver since
World's End. Yeah, it's been
World's End.
Yeah.
So I think we just need more Edgar Wright in the industries and this premise of a dystopian game show where people hunt you down. I think that's
Right.
that has the perfect Edgar Wright energy. Like, just make it fun, and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, and it's opening in November, which helps. Hunger Games: Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was a surprise kind of breakout from November 2 years ago. Helen, how are we feeling about it? First of all, like, are you on the Glenn Powell train at all, or are you still trying to be like, what are they trying to do with him?
Yeah, I'm not sure about Glenn Powell. Big fan of Edgar Wright. Love his stuff. Cornetto trilogy is iconic.
Obviously, yeah.
He also happens to be from where my family are from in the UK, like literally same town.
There you go. I don't know why, like I had a feeling. I'm like, oh, there's some connecting tissue there.
Yeah, no, me and Edgar Wright, like, you know, we go way back. No, I really love him, and I agree with Luke that he needs something to come back because he hasn't been around for a while. I mean, he obviously Last Night in Soho, whatever, but he hasn't had like a smash hit in a while. So I'm excited. But in terms of Glenn Powell,
yeah. Anyone but you, I didn't watch. Twisters, Hitman was really good up until the last act, and the last act I'm just like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like that one of the most baffling third act conclusions to any movie that I've seen recently. You guys are missing one crucial Edgar Wright thing, and that's the COVID reunion of the Scott Pilgrim cast when they got together virtually to read through the movie, which was one of the highlights of COVID for me. I think it's still on YouTube. You should go and watch it if you get a chance. I think the only
I don't think that movie's very good, so I will not.
Come on!
You guys have been shitting on my franchise all day.
Come on, Luke. Oh, you got that one. You got to rewatch. I'm telling you, like it is the perfect blend of whip smart dialogue and pun jokes with insane video game visuals. Like that movie.
I'll rewatch it before The Running Man.
Yeah, I think the only cast members who they weren't able to bring back for the reading, they weren't able to bring back Brie Larson, they weren't able to bring back Aubrey Plaza, and they weren't able to bring back Johnny Simmons. But everybody else they were able to bring back, which I thought was awesome. And then laughing at all their ridiculous jokes, I thought was great. All right, now let's get to the real ones. Let's get to the movies, the films, if you will. Now that we're through all the blockbuster sludge. First one, Paul Thomas Anderson's 10th feature film starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Regina Hall, Tiana Taylor, Alana Haim, and Benicio del Toro. One battle after another, previously thought to be the Battle of Bactan Cross. It is It is an adaptation of Thomas Pynchon's Vineland saga, and I believe that the only thing that we know is that it's going to be kind of similar, but like a more straightforward and big budgeted version of Inherent Vice, where Leo DiCaprio is kind of like this bum character hanging around LA as like there's this kind of weird, uprising against like whatever fascist government is in control. There's going to be car chases and scenes with tanks. This looks to be Paul Thomas Anderson's biggest movie yet. It comes out right smack dab in time for my birthday in August. So that's going to be a nice little birthday present to me. How are we feeling about this? Paul Thomas Anderson hasn't had a movie since Licorice Pizza, which I was not a fan of at all, but he continues to be one of the best working filmmakers. Obviously efforts like There Will Be Blood, Boogie Nights, The Master, Phantom Thread, Punch Drunk Love. Oh man, like this, I'm like, yeah, I'm excited for this one, to say the least. Who's going first?
Well, I've only seen Licorice Pizza, and that wasn't great. So
Yeah.
I will have to watch more.
Yeah, you got to watch the
his
rest.
movies before this
Okay.
one, because you seem to be talking it up a little. And you said Leo's in it, right?
Leo is the lead.
Yeah.
Yes, first time
And-
also that Leo was worked with PTA. Famously, again, this has kind of been a long time in the making because PTA originally wanted Leo for the lead part in Boogie Nights, and Leo turned it down, but recommended Mark Wahlberg based off of them working together in Basketball Diaries. So, and that's how we got Boogie Nights. So yeah, so this is kind of a little bit of a come full circle moment for everybody involved. So. Helen, obviously, I mean, I assume that you've got to be a Paul Thomas Anderson fan.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen too many of his movies. I've seen Boogie Nights and I've seen There Will Be Blood.
Okay.
So loved both of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all for Paul Thomas Anderson.
I'm pumped. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen every Paul Thomas Anderson movie in theaters since Phantom Thread, so unfortunately that's only been 2 movies. But the majority of them, he was very prolific when I was in high school. My friend Dustin was always talking him up as far as being like the filmmaker to watch, and I watched Boogie Nights, and I'm like, this is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. Obviously,
I watched Boogie Nights on a plane, which was random.
That is
very strange movie to watch on a plane.
Yeah, yeah, especially with that opening scene. And oh man, let's just hope that there weren't any little kids that were around when they were watching, because oh man, that would be an awkward explanation to their parents. Yeah. Next up, the third in the Knives Out trilogy. Like I said, famously, this movie opened in 2019 in theaters before Netflix bought the rights for $300 million for the next 2 films. The second film, Glass Onion, opened Christmas of 2022. And continuing with the kind of Agatha Christie edge that Rian Johnson loves to do with his movies, you've got Daniel Craig back as Benoit Blanc with an entirely new cast consisting of Josh O'Connor, Glenn Close, Josh Brolin, Mila Kunis, Jeremy Renner, Kerry Washington, Andrew Scott, Kaylee Spaney, Daryl McCormick, and Thomas Hayden Church. I gotta say, this might be my favorite of the casts they've assembled. I liked Glass Onion more than the first one. The first one I wasn't that big of a fan of. I thought outside of Chris Evans, they didn't do a good job utilizing the ensemble cast. Wake Up Dead Man, the next Netflix installment. How are we feeling about this one? What's the vibe? What's the temperature? Helen, we'll start with you this time.
For Knives Out 3?
Yes.
I mean, I was a fan of the 2 first movies. I didn't think I was gonna like them, but I actually did. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it, especially Josh O'Connor, big fan of him. I've just like his career recently has just been really interesting to watch, and he's kind of just like killing it. Like, I don't know if you guys saw that Italian movie, La Chimera.
I did not know, but I heard good things about it.
It was great, and he like learned Italian for it. The whole thing, like, just spoke Italian the entire time with all these Italian actors. So he's just had a very interesting career, and he just has a lot of range, has been doing a lot of different things. So I'm like, what's not to like, honestly, about Knives Out?
Yeah. See, my whole thing with Josh O'Connor, and the only reason why I'm immediately distrustful of him in this movie, not because of his talent, I know that he's good at that, but because
I thought you meant the actor.
No, not because of his talent. No, I know he's good. It's because the two primary things that I've seen him in being The Crown season 4, and then obviously Challenger is the big one this past year. Is I'm like, wow, this guy's really good at playing slimy scumbags, like just the slimiest of the scumbags. So I see him as a priest in this movie. I'm like, oh, I immediately don't trust you. Something is automatically suspicious of you. You played Charles, and you played the other douchebag that was like the devil on Zendaya's shoulder of the devil angel dynamic that those 3 had going for them in Challenger. So automatically I'm distrustful of him. But he's a great actor, and I'm really, really excited to see what he's going to bring, especially since he seems to be like kind of the number 2 in that movie after Daniel Craig. So, Luke, what's your general anticipation level for Knives Out 3, Wake Up Dead Man, or Knives Out, or whatever it's going to be called?
The first Knives Out is like one of my favorite movies ever. The second one was good, not as good, but like that's a pretty high bar. And this one, again, it's the ensemble cast aspect that's always interesting. Like there was a week where they just announced a new guy every day. Jeremy Renner is in it, even though his hot sauce was in the last movie, which is amusing to say the least. And Kaylee Spaney is in it, who I'm now a fan of since Romulus. So and a bunch of other people. So and like Daniel Craig is just so perfect in that role. Like,
robbed of an Oscar nomination. Queer is all that I'm gonna say. Sebastian Stan was great in The Apprentice, but that 5th spot. Well, I mean, I also didn't like Conclave at all, but that 5th spot should have been Daniel Craig. But
you didn't like Conclave.
I am not a fan. Okay. We'll talk about that after. I'm not a fan. The ending screwed it for me.
Okay, I see that.
Yeah. All right, next up, another big one. We have the return of Ari Aster after his last effort. Beau is Afraid did not exactly have the impact that his first two efforts, Hereditary and Midsommar, did. This is a film that is a Western. So already that right there, Ari Aster directing a Western. The plot right now follows a small-town New Mexico sheriff with higher aspirations. This will be his second collaboration with Joaquin Phoenix, with a supporting cast that includes Pedro Pascal, Emma Stone, and Austin Butler. So already that's like three of the biggest names of the last few years. I was not a fan of Hereditary or Midsommar. I loved Beau is Afraid. I had an absolute blast watching that in theaters. It almost made my top 10 of the year. Yes, I know. I'm completely on the opposite train of everybody. Because Hereditary and Midsommar, I'm like, I don't really know what he's going for here. Also, I'm like, the scares are there, but I'm like, the plots are for both those movies are like kind of really dumb. Like there's some weird bits of comedy in there that just don't work for me at all. But then Beau is Afraid just went full-on surrealist, stupid balls to the wall. And I'm like, oh, now I get it. He's just trying to do he just likes doing random shit for the sake of doing random shit. But if he does it like sequentially and makes it funny, which that's the thing that everybody missed about that movie is a farce. Like not just a comedy, a farce. Like the scene with him and Parker Posey, anybody who's seen that movie knows what I'm talking about. Again, my theater was laughing so hard. It was the hardest that I'd seen a theater laugh in the last couple of years. How are we feeling about Ari Aster's fourth film? A hit or miss director, I will say, for me personally.
All you Americans pronounce Midsommar wrong. Like
Midsommar.
Midsommar.
Okay, I'll make sure I pronounce it like that from now on.
Are you Swedish?
No, but I'm close enough to know that, and close enough geographically to know how they pronounce it.
Okay,
oh, man, that's funny. Oh man, that's good. Yeah, Luke, I just realized, have you and I ever talked about Ari Aster in depth?
Not overly. I never got to Beau is Afraid, but I enjoy his first two. And do we know what the fourth one is about? Or
like I said, all that we know is that it's a Western. That's all we know.
Well, that's probably enough.
Yeah.
And I will watch Beau is Afraid before that.
Yeah. You got to dedicate a whole day to that because that is 3 hours long, and man, that movie does not stop from start to finish. Is all that I'm going to say. One of the greatest third act reveal. So I've gotten two of my friends recently who were like, "Man, I need something crazy to watch. Something that's got." I'm like, "Oh, have I got the movie for you?" And then my one friend was texting me throughout, being like, Dom, I think I'm traumatized after that movie, and I'm like, "You're welcome." This is I love getting people with that. I recently got my one friend with The Substance too, so that was very good. That was quite fun seeing their reaction to that. Helen, all right, let's start at the beef. I take it you are a big fan of Hereditary and Midsommar.
Well, okay.
Right? It even worse that time.
Forget it. I'm not even gonna try. Not even gonna try. It's done.
I'm not gonna try. No, I'm not a massive fan. However, I just was not expecting you to be like, because everyone loves Hereditary and I'm not even gonna say it. And then don't like Beau is Afraid. Like I heard so much like shit about Beau is Afraid. So I didn't see Beau is Afraid. I saw Hereditary. I actually hate horror movies, and I watched it anyway, and I like cried when it ended because of how upset I was.
Yeah, I was about to say, wow, somebody who doesn't like or watch horror movies, what's the first time you're gonna watch Hereditary? Oh boy,
it was a horrible experience, but I could appreciate the movie. I still tried to like step outside of like how upset I was and be like, that was still a good movie. Like, yeah, I genuinely did. I think Ari Aster is a good director. I think he knows he's doing something interesting with the horror genre. So it's going to be interesting to see the Western.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. I'm glad that he's branching into other genres outside of horror, which I felt like was kind of constraining to him. If that's one thing I will say, after it's the horror genre was very constraining, and I realized that he is somebody who has a lot more to offer than just in that genre. I'm trying to remember, like when I saw Hereditary in theaters, like because this is the problem too. It was coming off that stupid hype wave when everybody was coming out of Sundance or Cannes, whichever film festival they saw it at, and they were like, "Oh my god, this is like the scariest movie I've ever seen." And they were doing that stupid thing where it's like, "Oh, measure your heart rate at like beats per minute." During that, and like all that stupidity, and that already kind of started the movie off on a bad note for me. And then I watched it, and my reaction was, I'm like, okay, cult stuff. Okay, these main characters are all idiots for not realizing that they are blatantly being manipulated by forces around them. The movie, I thought, had something interesting going forward in the sense of, okay, we don't know if this is actually happening or if this is all a result of said mental illness. Then by the end, they're like, oh, no, this is actually happening. And the movie kind of lost a little bit of the suspense factor for me. When the daughter got her head knocked off, I'm like, okay, is this supposed to be funny? Like, what is going on? So I'm kind of like just trying to figure out how I'm feeling for it. And then the last act happens, and my theater is dying with laughter. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess this is a comedy now. All right. And then Midsommar, I'm like, I fell asleep for the first 10 minutes, and I woke up and I figured out exactly everything that was going to happen over the next 2 hours. And everything that I figured was going to happen did happen. So there was that. But Bo was afraid. I went into that movie completely blind. And like, all right, I'm only giving this one more shot. And I had an absolute blast. That was one of the silliest movies I've ever seen, and I absolutely loved it. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to Eddington, mostly just to see Ari continue to experiment outside of the genres that he has kind of been constrained to. So a couple other ones that we have, Yorgos Lanthimos' Begonia, starring Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons as two people who are, as two potential conspiracy theorists who are trying to prove if a UFO is real. With Yorgos Lanthimos directing after Poor Things and Kinds of Kindness, I'm automatically in. I'm automatically in on anything that he's got going for him. Caught Stealing, Darren Aronofsky's new effort, which features Austin Butler and Matt Smith as two baseball card thieves in gritty 90s New York. That one's also coming out in August for my birthday, so that one could be fun. Spike Lee's remake of High and Low, Akira Kurosawa's late entry, Highest to Lowest, starring Denzel Washington, Jeffrey Wright, and Ice Spice. And I believe A$AP Rocky is in the movie as well. Yes, that is actually happening. It is coming out on Apple TV Plus sometime over the summer. The Phoenician Scheme, which is Wes Anderson. I just got to look this up because Wes Anderson always has about like 24 cast members in his movie. That is Wes Anderson's next follow-up effort to Asteroid City, and also his award-winning shorts that came out on Netflix that same year. I still can't believe that The Wonderful World of Henry Sugar was Wes Anderson's first Oscar win. This is another massive ensemble cast that will include the likes of Benicio del Toro, Michael Cera, Bill Murray, Riz Ahmed, Tom Hanks, Benedict Cumberbatch, Scarlett Johansson, Charlotte Gainsborough, Rupert Friend, Willem Dafoe, Bryan Cranston, and a bunch of other people. Jay Kelly, which is Noah Baumbach's next follow-up effort on Netflix, which the premise of this movie has been listed as a coming-of-age drama only surrounding middle-aged adults starring George Clooney, Adam Sandler, Laura Dern, Billy Crudup, and Riley Keough. And this is going to be another massive ensemble cast, so I'm looking forward to that. Richard Linklater has 2 movies coming out this year. Nouvelle Vogue, which is a movie about the French New Wave starring Zoe Deutsch, and Blue Moon, which is his next collaboration with Ethan Hawke. I don't know what the premise of this movie is, but it'll be interesting to see kind of double Linklater in this year. He hasn't done one in a while. And then we're also getting the Safdies have officially split up their filmmaking efforts. You've got Benny doing The Smashing Machine with The Rock, and then Josh doing Marty Supreme, which is Timothée Chalamet's next star vehicle as a ping pong player in the 50s. Hold on, let me wait for this to
And that
load
has
up.
like $100 million budget.
$70 million budget right now. And the co-stars include Gwyneth Paltrow, Tyler the Creator, Odessa A'zion, Penn Jillette, and Abel Ferrara, the director of movies like King of New York and Bad Lieutenant and The Addiction, which I just saw recently. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year with some indies that are coming out. Also, we're getting 2 different Frankenstein movies this year as well. We're getting The Bride with Maggie Gyllenhaal directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal, starring Christian Bale, and then regular Frankenstein with Guillermo del Toro directing, starring Oscar Isaac. Was originally supposed to star Andrew Garfield as the monster. He dropped out. Now it's starring Jacob Elordi. So yeah, I kind of just like rattle off a lot of movies there. So I would say out of all of those, which one is the one that you guys are looking forward to the most? I can read them off again if need be.
I'm gonna go with Marty Supreme and Caught Stealing because it's directors that I like their previous work. It's actors that I like their previous work, and it's just intriguing stories like some ping pong player and baseball thieves. Like, okay, sign me up.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I'm with that. Yeah, Helen, which of those titles kind of tickles your fancy the most, if you will?
I do like the sound of those 2 a lot, and also Frankenstein, Guillermo del Toro. Love his work, and I'm very, very curious to see Jacob Elordi as the monster. I don't know if I see that, and I want to be convinced otherwise. But I love del Toro's work, and also I just love like remakes of reimaginings of like period piece, like old, like I loved Nosferatu. So I really
sick.
enjoyed that. So I'm hoping I'll enjoy Frankenstein as well.
Indeed.
Yeah.
What's it called? Yeah, for me, the two out of those lists, like I said, aside from all those ones that really stand out to me, it's Begonia, because obviously you just after what Yorgos pulled off with Poor Things and Kinds of Kindness, I'm like, yeah, I'm automatically in it every day. And also the idea of Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons playing conspiracy theorists is just hilarious to me.
Yeah.
And then highest to lowest, because Spike, I really like BlacKkKlansman. Defy Blood's had a couple problems, but I've been really impressed with Spike's kind of late career trajectory. And now he's doing another remake of foreign film. We know that didn't work out so well with Old Boy, but I think the difference is that what he did with Old Boy, he was pretty much doing like a straight shot for shot remake, but with American actors, and there was just something about that just did not quite work out, especially with the Josh Brolin and Elizabeth Olsen revelation. But this one, he's doing more of his take. He's not doing a direct remake. It is different actors. I believe it is good. They're going to be playing different characters. The movie takes place in Harlem as opposed to in Japan, obviously, when when the original did. So yeah, those two I'm looking forward to the most. And also one other that I forgot to mention that is kind of off of everybody's radars, but considering that his directorial effort was probably one of my favorite directorial breakthroughs. So this is Jonah Hill's next directorial effort after mid-90s. It is called Outcome. He's directing it and wrote it with Ezra Woods. It is being produced by Apple TV Plus. It stars Keanu Reeves as an actor named Reef Hawk, an actor who's been sober for 5 years. He's taken a break from acting to build his new home and takes pride in his progress in life. However, when he receives a call from his crisis lawyer, Ira Slits, played by Jonah Hill, who reveals that someone is blackmailing him with a video of questionable content, his life is turned upside down. Reef then sets out to make amends with those who he has wronged in the past to figure out who the blackmailer is. The supporting cast of this movie also includes Cameron Diaz, Matt Bomer, David Spade, Laverne Cox, Kaya Gerber, and and also Martin Scorsese will be appearing in the film as a washed-up agent for young actors. So that one already off the bat, I'm like, that sounds so bizarre and insane. Like, I'm kind of in on that. Keanu Reeves is a guy who's potentially getting canceled. I'm in on that. I want to see that. That sounds good. I loved mid-90s. So that was one of my favorite movies. And I actually got to see one of the first test screenings for that movie as well. So I am very much excited for that. Yeah, well, Helen, you perked up a little there. Like I can tell that seemed a little interesting there.
That movie just sounds great. I am like, it's ballsy, like the whole cancel culture theme. Seeing Keanu Reeves be canceled, like I'm just like, okay, I don't know. It seems like there's a lot going on, and I hope it goes well. I would like for it to be good. The premise just sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it sounds bonkers, and I am very much here for it. All right, so like I said, the only other one really is the Bruce Springsteen biopic with Jeremy Allen White, but we're gonna save that one because, like I said, I'm hoping that one's more in line of Complete Unknown than the last couple of jukebox musicals that we've gotten, because those just needed to go away. So I have here before we wrap up, we have a couple of wild cards that I want to hit. So these are movies where I'm not sure how these are going to be received critically. I don't know if they're going to make a dent in the culture. I don't know how they're going to do box office wise. They don't really fit into kind of like that blockbuster or indie window. But these all sound so fascinating for whatever different reason that I'm like, I just need to gauge your guys' thought process on this. So the first one that I have is Michael, the Michael Jackson biopic starring his nephew. I believe the kid's name is, let me just get this right. So he's played by his nephew, Jafar Jackson. So this is going to be following Michael Jackson's life and career. It's directed by Anton Fuqua, the director of Training Day and the Equalizer movies, which is an interesting choice. It's written by John Logan, one of the co-writers of Gladiator, and the co-stars involve Coleman Domingo as his father, Joe Jackson, Nia Long, Miles Teller, Laura Harrier, and a couple of other unknowns as the rest of the Jackson 5. Kat Graham is also going to be in it as Diana Ross. Lorenz Tate is Berry Gordy. I am skeptical of this for a lot of different reasons. One, the classic icon music biopic. The only one that they've really gotten right in the last couple of years is Bob Dylan. I'm sorry. That Elvis, I'm still making heads or tails of that movie. Rocket Man and Bohemian Rhapsody were absolute crap. So I'm skeptical of this, to say the least. Also, the idea of Anton Fuqua directing, it doesn't worry me, but he has more misses than hits. So how are we feeling about this one?
I think it's going to be a complete train wreck.
All right, so we're already shipping.
They had to recently they had to completely scrap the third act because it was some controversy with the Michael Jackson controversy.
Yeah, and I think they weren't they also getting sued by the estate as well for like some licensing
Probably.
issues, I think. Yeah. So already this was not looking good. They had to delay the release date. This was originally an April release date. They were pushing it to October. Suppose that was like, oh, so we can get it in more consideration for Oscars. I'm with you, Luke. I think this is going to be dead on arrival, honestly. Helen, what are your thoughts on the Michael Jackson biopic?
Yeah, I'm feeling similarly. The way I feel about music biopics is the way I feel about these like Mission Impossible, Fast and Furious remake. Like, I'm just like, can we stop? Like, there's endless musicians that we could like make movies about, but most of them have been bad or like disappointing.
But Helen, we're just getting started. In 2027, Sam Mendes is releasing 4 different movies about each of the members of the Beatles, all of which are set to be released in 2027.
See, that kills me as well because I'm a massive Beatles fan. So I'm just like, don't do it. Just don't do it. Like, it was the same with the Amy Winehouse biopic. I am a massive fan of Amy.
We dodged a bullet not reviewing that one last year because I did not hear good things about that one.
I love Amy Winehouse so much, and I watched it and I was like, it wasn't like bad. It was just like, why? I walked out and I was like, why? Why did they make this? It adds nothing.
They did my girl Yasmin dirty, from what I heard from my beloved Marissa Abella, who is unbelievable on Industry, which is a show that I am constantly going to recommend for people because that show is so good. And I was so sad when I heard about that. I mean, I saw Aaron Taylor Johnson's 20 years older wife directing that movie, who also did the first 50 Shades of Grey, and I'm like, I'm already getting bad vibes here. The next one in the wild card batches, this is a movie that Dustin alerted me to, but the premise just sounds so fascinating that I had to. So this is the next effort from director Derek Cianfrance, who previously directed Blue Valentine, Place Beyond the Pines, Light Between Oceans, and also directed the 6-part miniseries with Mark Ruffalo, the one that shot in my hometown that I'm already forgetting the name of. What's it called? It is. I know this much is true. That one. It's a HBO miniseries that aired in COVID with Mark Ruffalo that I watched. It was shot in my hometown. It was actually very, very good. So this is a biopic about fugitive Jeffrey Manchester, a former U.S. Army Reserve officer known as the Roof Man due to his propensity to steal from branches of McDonald's after entering their premises via the roof and evaded capture from police by hiding in the roof of a Toys R Us store. This movie stars Channing Tatum in the titular role with a supporting cast that includes Kirsten Dunst, Ben Mendelsohn, Peter Dinklage, Uzo Aduba, Juno Temple, Emery Cohen, and Lakeith Stanfield. Bizarre premise, to say the least. Bizarre premise, but I've heard good things. I trust Channing Tatum as a dramatic actor. He really, really impressed me in Blink Twice, even though that movie didn't work out as well as I would have thought, but he was really good in that. So this movie is set to open in October, I believe the same weekend as the Michael Jackson biopic. So how are we feeling about this one? Could this be like a sneaky surprise hit? Like, what are our thoughts just based off that premise? Helen, we'll start with you.
Very strange premise, but I agree with you that Channing Tatum recently has impressed me. Like, I went to see Blink Twice. I didn't think it was going to be good, and it really was, and he was really good in it. So I hope this will be fun, especially if it's being released the same weekend as the Michael Jackson.
Oh my God. If this movie trumps Michael Jackson, that would be the funniest thing ever that happened this year. Luke, what are your thoughts on Roofman? Have you heard anything about this movie?
I have not, but Channing Tatum often enough is the best part of any movie he's in.
It's
and
true.
As soon as you said like he hides in the Toys R Us, I'm like, okay, this could be like,
that's gonna be so. Watch Channing Tatum hide in a Toys R Us. That's gonna be like.
Is it gonna be a dramatic? Is it gonna be more comedy? Like I guess we'll see. But
if it's comedic, that would shock me because Derek Cianfrance is not known for comedy, to say the least.
But that sounds like a comedic premise to me, just that little tidbit. But I will definitely be seeing this over the Michael Jackson biopic.
Yeah.
I will be seeing both just because I need to see like what this Michael Jackson movie is going to be because all right, next wild card, and a sequel to a franchise that probably shouldn't have been a franchise, but considering that what's it called? But considering that what's it called? Hold on, let me get to the right one. But considering that the second one did quite a lot of money. And also, again, it's a little bit of like, I would say like a lesser known franchise from the 2010s. And actually, the first one really, really impressed me. I'm a big fan of this first one. Now You See Me 3, which is, again, so this will be, it'll have been 12 years since the first one was released in 2013. This is the original, which featured around Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, Dave Franco, and Isla Fisher as kind of crime magicians, as these magicians who pull off these crazy heists and are being pursued heavily by Mark Ruffalo. Michael Caine and Morgan Freeman also co-starred in the first one. Then you had the second one, which came out a few years later. There was a couple of behind-the-scenes problem with that. Isla Fisher was unable to return because of her pregnancy, so they replaced her with Lizzie Kaplan. Daniel Radcliffe was the villain in that one. It wasn't as well received. Ironically, that one also was directed by John M. Chu, the director of now Wicked. But this one, what's it called? So this one, I don't remember when the idea came up for them to produce this one. I believe that this one has kind of been in development since 2015, but they were finally able to get it shot last year in Budapest. This one is being directed by Ruben Fleischer, who's been on a little bit of a downturn recently, but I will never forget how he impressed us early on with efforts like Zombieland and 30 Minutes or Less. So we have a lot of returning cast members. Isla Fisher and Lizzie Kaplan are both coming back for this one, along with Jesse Eisenberg, Mark Ruffalo, Woody Harrelson, and Dave Franco. And if you have not seen the first one, the basic twist is that Mark Ruffalo, who is the FBI agent pursuing them the entire time, is revealed to be secretly the one that's bankrolling them. Morgan Freeman is also returning, and as well as Daniel Radcliffe in his efforts from the second one. And you've also got newcomers, including Ariana Greenblatt, Dominic Sessa, Justice Smith, and Rosamund Pike will be joining the franchise in this one. I really, really enjoyed that first one. It's probably one of my favorite kind of low-key effort movies from the 2010s. The second one I have not seen. What are your guys' thoughts on this one? Have you seen any efforts from this franchise, dude? Have any anticipation as far as this movie coming out?
They're not great movies, but I really enjoy seeing how far they stretch the magic aspect of it, like to the point where they're basically wizards. So I'm there for that. Like,
listen, I mean, I'm a Harry Potter fan all day long, so I'm like, listen, as long as you can, it doesn't matter how bullshit the explanations are, as long as you can have some form of explanation for how Jesse Eisenberg is literally able to like freeze rain in like the middle of it. Also, the fact that outside of Batman versus Superman, these are like the biggest budgeted movies that Jesse Eisenberg has ever been the lead of, is still like hilarious to me. But Helen, have you ever heard of the Now You See Me movies before this?
I've heard of them. I haven't seen them.
Yeah.
So
I recommend the first one. The first one is solid. The second one, but the first one is solid. So I'm hoping that they can pull it off. And I like the new cast members that they've got, Ariana Greenblatt aside, but I like the new cast members that they've got involved. You know, Justice Smith has been good when you give him the right material. Dominic Sessa, obviously, after the holdovers, and Rosamund Pike. I mean, come on, you can never go wrong with Rosamund Pike. I mean, come on.
Interesting. I do not like Dominic Sessa.
Really? So you're one of the ones that did not like him after the holdovers.
I'm a Dominic Sessa hater. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I think he'll be perfect as like he doing some close-up magic, like he
if he's doing magic, you know, or I don't know what his role is going to be. I don't know. Maybe they'll be like starting like a magic academy almost, you know, because they did hint that like there's different sects. Because the other thing that's part of this movie's lore also is the fact that the magicians are all secretly part of this one overhanging society, this Illuminati like society called the Eye. So that's kind of like hinted at throughout like the second one. Oh yeah, this movie's got lore to it as well. So yeah. What's it called? Fast forward to these next couple ones. I'll skip over Megan 2.0. I like the first one. The second one's gonna be fun. For me, the big wild card. After his critically acclaimed series, The Idol, you know, The Weeknd's The Weeknd's feature film debut, directed by Trey Edward Schultz, with the same name as his most recent album that came out, starring Jenna Ortega and Barry Keoghan. Hurry Up Tomorrow. I have no idea what this movie's about, and honestly, I kind of want to keep it that way, because after The Idol, I'm like, I think I need to go in blind, because The Idol, I'm one of the few people that actually liked The Idol until the last episode, when they just like blatantly just cut plot lines, and it was one of those things where I think kind of the entertainment value that I had from that show came from seeing that like the majority of that cast was actually really fucking good, like really fucking good. And The Weeknd was so bad, like so bad, that it was almost like this like seesaw act. It was like, okay, how can the other cast members save whatever the fuck The Weeknd is doing? Like the one scene where he's like trying to intimidate the one fashion guy in the store, where he's like got a fucking shock collar around Troye Sivan. That show was bonkers, to say the least. And I'm interested to see how Hurry Up Tomorrow is gonna go, especially considering that he's got like actual like decent actors, you know, like Jenna Ortega and Barry Keoghan, who have both been killing it recently. My thoughts on this is that I'm kind of hoping that this will be this year's Megalopolis. Obviously not in the same sense as you, Luke, because I actually really enjoyed Megalopolis. I mean, come on, how could you not? That movie was absolute nonsense, and it knew it. Talk about a movie that was high on its own supply. Helen, What are your thoughts on the weekend's Hurry Up Tomorrow with Jenna Ortega and Barry Keoghan? Did you watch The Idol? Did you have any sort of do you have any sort of anything going into this movie?
No, I did not see The Idol. I have no interest in this movie, except I do love Barry Keoghan. So, I mean, the only reason I would maybe be convinced to go into this movie is if to see him. But no, I have no opinions or
it's one of those things where I'm like, this sounds so dumb, and it doesn't even like the trailer was basically just like a music video, and like there's no plot, nobody knows what it's even about. Like I'm like, I kind of just need to see what it is in order to see like what it's about, you know?
Yeah, also I'm amazed that Barry Keoghan like is doing a movie like this, just because I have really enjoyed what he's done.
Yeah,
and, like,
he still
he does. He's very selective.
Yes.
So yeah.
But he still colors outside the lines. He still likes to color outside the lines every once in a while, you know? Like I see, remember, he still is the Joker in the Matt Reeves Batman movies, and he did just recently do Andrea Arnold's Bird, which I did not get a chance to watch, but I heard was slightly controversial. So yeah, I'm interested to see this, to say the least, just because again, if it's anything like The Idol, like I had fun with The Idol. It wasn't good, but I had fun with it. So I'm hoping that we can get something like this. Luke, do you have any sort of expectation for this movie at all after the weekend's last
I did not see this one, but I have to go to my lecture now anyway.
Oh,
so
well, that works out.
Or I'll be late. But
yeah, well, I'm sorry, didn't mean to keep you here past that time.
That's all right.
Real quick, give a shout out as to where the people can follow you on the interwebs.
They should subscribe at Look Reviews, because there's actually a new video out for once. Top 10 movies of last year.
Yes,
I'm working on the next one already. Helen, was nice meeting you. Don,
Yeah, nice to meet you.
I'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week for Captain America and White Lotus before we get back to Talking Lost, what's it called, at the beginning of at the end of the month. So that would be fun.
See you guys.
All right, see you, Luke. This is fun.
Bye.
All right, so Helen, so now that we are pretty much done, what's it called? So basically the way that we usually end the show is we essentially usually just plug it if we have any social media that we want to follow anywhere before we sign off. So where can the good people follow you on the interwebs?
Yeah, I mean, best place to find me is on Instagram, at Helen Romeu. That's Romeo with a U rather than O. And you can find my link tree on there, my acting materials. Yeah, best place to find me.
Yes, it was fun having you on. I'm sorry that we had to torture you with a lot of blockbuster slop, but it was, like I said, just so that you can kind of get the idea of what the show is about. And of course, you guys can follow me with everything going on at Movie Nerd Reviews across all platforms, at Official Talking TV Podcast across all platforms. Be sure to subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Be sure to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, where this episode will be available either later today or tomorrow, depending on how fast I can edit it. And as always, people, 12 seasons of short film. Here's 2025. We'll see you guys next week for Captain America.